My wife stole my inheritance. The day my father died, I thought I had already experienced the worst pain imaginable. I was wrong. 3 months after his funeral, I discovered that the woman I trusted more than anyone had stolen the inheritance he left for me, and she had been planning it long before he took his final breath. My name is Daniel, and I was married to my wife, Rachel, for 7 years. I believed we had a strong marriage. We were not perfect, but we rarely argued about anything serious. We had a comfortable home, stable jobs, and plans to start a family. Rachel worked as an office manager for a small legal firm, while I worked as a civil engineer. We earned enough to live comfortably, but Rachel always wanted more. She wanted a larger house, expensive vacations, designer clothes, and a luxury car. Whenever I reminded her that we needed to save for our future, she accused me of being overly cautious. "You only live once," she would say. "What is the point of earning money if we never enjoy it?" I usually laughed and changed the subject. At the time, I thought her obsession with money was harmless. My father, however, never trusted her. He never openly criticized Rachel, but I noticed how carefully he watched her whenever she asked questions about his property or finances. My father had built a successful construction business from nothing. He owned several rental properties, a large piece of farmland, and a substantial investment portfolio. I never knew exactly how much money he had. He was a private man who believed wealth should be protected, not displayed. 6 months before his death, he was diagnosed with advanced pancreatic cancer. The news destroyed me. My mother had died years earlier, and my father was the only close family I had left. During his final months, I visited him almost every day. Rachel came with me sometimes, but she often claimed she was too busy at work. When she did visit, she seemed unusually interested in his legal documents. One evening, while my father was sleeping, I found Rachel standing near his desk, looking through a pile of papers. "What are you doing?" I asked. She quickly placed the papers down. "I was searching for his medication schedule," she replied. "The medication schedule is in the kitchen." She smiled nervously. I must have forgotten. I wanted to believe her, so I ignored the uncomfortable feeling in my stomach. A few weeks later, my father asked to speak with me privately. We sat together in his living room while Rachel waited outside. "Daniel," he said weakly, "you need to be careful." "About what?" "Money changes people." I assumed he was giving me general advice. He continued, "After I am gone, do not make quick decisions. Do not sign anything without reading it. And do not give anyone full access to your accounts." I promised him I would be careful. Then he looked toward the doorway where Rachel was waiting. "Even the people closest to you can surprise you," he said. I should have understood what he was trying to tell me. But I loved my wife, and love can make warning signs look like misunderstandings. My father passed away on a cold Monday morning. I held his hand as he took his final breath. After the funeral, I could barely function. I stopped sleeping properly, missed several days of work, and struggled to complete basic tasks. Rachel took control of everything. She handled bills, answered phone calls, organized documents, and communicated with my father's attorney. At first, I was grateful. "You do not need to worry about anything," she told me. "Let me take care of you." A month after the funeral, my father's attorney, Mr. Harris, scheduled a meeting to discuss the will. Rachel insisted on coming. According to the will, my father left me his house, farmland, investments, savings, and ownership shares in his company. The total value was more than $4 million. I was shocked. Rachel squeezed my hand beneath the table. I could feel her fingers trembling. On the drive home, she was unusually excited. "Do you realize what this means?" she asked. "We can finally live the life we deserve." I stared out the window. "My father just died, Rachel." "I know. I am not trying to be insensitive. I am talking about our future. Over the following weeks, she constantly discussed how we should spend the inheritance. She wanted to buy a mansion, replace both of our cars, and invest in a luxury vacation rental business. I refused. I am not touching the money until I understand everything, I told her. Dad worked his entire life for this. I am not going to waste it. Her expression changed by transferring it without telling me? You signed the paperwork. I did not sign anything. She crossed her arms. You signed several documents after the funeral. You probably do not remember. I did remember signing documents. Rachel had brought me stacks of paperwork during the weeks after my father died. She told me they were related to insurance claims, utility transfers, and funeral expenses. I had trusted her. What did you make me sign? I asked. She looked away. That was when I realized the truth. She had taken advantage of my grief. I contacted the bank the next morning and asked them to freeze the account. It was too late. More than half of the money had already been transferred to an overseas investment company. The company belonged to Rachel's cousin, Marcus. I had met Marcus only twice. Rachel described him as a successful entrepreneur, but I knew little about his business. When I demanded an explanation, Rachel finally stopped pretending. I invested the money, she said calmly. Marcus has an opportunity that could triple it within a year. You stole it. I did not steal anything. I am your wife. You forged my authorization. I did what was necessary because you were too afraid to make a decision. I could not believe the woman standing in front of me was the same woman I had married. Then she said something that ended our marriage. Your father was selfish. He should have included me in the will. I felt as if she had slapped me. My father knew exactly who you were, I said. Her face hardened. She packed a suitcase that night and left. The next morning, I hired a forensic accountant and a criminal attorney. What they discovered was worse than I expected. Rachel had been communicating with Marcus for nearly a year. Their messages showed that they had discussed my father's inheritance before he was even diagnosed with cancer. Rachel had searched for information about inheritance laws, account access, forged signatures, and international money transfers. She had also created a fake email address using my name and used it to communicate with financial institutions. This was not a desperate mistake. It was a carefully planned crime. The investigation also revealed that Marcus's investment company was nothing more than a shell corporation. The money had been divided across several accounts, and part of it had already been used to purchase a luxury apartment. Rachel had planned to leave me once the money was secured. In one message to Marcus, she wrote, "Daniel is too emotional to notice anything. Once the transfers are complete, I will file for divorce." Reading those words hurt more than losing the money. I had loved her. I had trusted her during the most painful period of my life. And she had looked at my grief as an opportunity. Rachel was arrested 2 weeks later. Marcus attempted to leave the country but was detained at the airport. The legal battle lasted nearly a year. Rachel's attorney tried to argue that she believed she had permission to manage the inheritance. However, the forged documents, fake emails, and private messages told a different story. Eventually, she accepted a plea agreement. She was sentenced to prison for fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. Marcus received a longer sentence because he had been involved in similar financial schemes before. Not all of the money was recovered, but most of it was returned after the authorities seized the apartment, froze several accounts, and sold assets purchased with the stolen funds. The divorce was finalized shortly after Rachel's sentencing. She wrote me a letter from prison. She apologized and claimed that greed had changed her. She said she had always loved me and begged me to forgive her. I never replied. Perhaps part of her had loved me once. But real love does not manipulate someone's grief. Real love does not forge signatures, hide money, or plan an escape behind a partner's back. After the trial, I sold my father's large house because living there brought back too many painful memories. I kept the farmland and invested most of the recovered money conservatively. I also created a scholarship in my father's name for students who wanted to study engineering but could not afford university. That decision gave the inheritance meaning. My father had spent his life building something valuable. I wanted part of what he left behind to help others build their futures. 2 years later, I am still learning how to trust people again. The betrayal changed me, but it did not destroy me. I used to believe that being cautious meant being cold or suspicious. Now I understand that protecting yourself does not mean you love people less. It means you respect the life you have worked to build. Sometimes, I think about my father's final warning. Even the people closest to you can surprise you. He knew. Maybe he had seen Rachel asking too many questions. Maybe he had noticed the hunger in her eyes whenever money was mentioned. I wish I had listened more carefully. But I refused to spend the rest of my life blaming myself. Rachel made her choices. She saw my inheritance as a shortcut to the life she wanted. In the end, her greed cost her the money, her freedom, and our marriage. As for me, I lost a wife I thought I knew. But I gained something more important. I learned that trust should be given with love, but never without awareness. Because the most dangerous betrayal does not always come from an enemy. Sometimes, it comes from the person sleeping beside you.